Database. Whoa. It's a good song.
It's all right.
You came around to the song.
I don't prefer it over Raise Your Flag.
No, I never asked you to.
Well, you're like, it's better, and you're wrong.
Yeah, but whatever. So long as you think it's cool.
Though specifically only for the ones in the OP, because the actual full version of Raise Your Flag is too slow. It starts too slow.
Yep.
Doesn't get going for like a minute. And I need him to stomp in that puddle and then to go Raise Your Flag. I'm so excited for our Gundam show to sound like that song.
What, in 2027?
Yeah, I don't care. It feels like a victory lap at that point, right? To me,
Yes.
personally, right now, to get that song be our Gundam song.
I mean, it will be.
Yeah.
We'll be doing this for so long. Right, let's begin this podcast.
I thought we were beginning the podcast.
Oh, are we on the podcast? Are we on the, yeah,
I have
guess
no
we're on the
idea.
podcast.
You're editing, so.
Yeah, sure. Hey, welcome. We've been on the podcast this whole time. This is your uncle's beach house.
Yeah, episode 8, 9?
Episode 8.
Okay.
This is Beach House. This is just an episode that we did. So, no, that's not a Patreon episode, which means, as you said earlier, there's no obligation for this to be like long content that someone's paid for. We don't know how long this is going to be. It's going to be an episode. We watch the anime, we talk about it. If we don't have much to say, this will be a short episode, but we'll make it fun. We watched the show Log Horizon, the first season.
I was told I needed to watch Log Horizon for us to do a podcast about it.
Yes, I wanted to watch Log. Well, I was watching Log Horizon
Yes.
and I was having a very good time with it.
Our very good patron Jackson Tyler wrote in and said, "Do Log Horizon," and I can't say no. So,
Yeah, no, I used my executive power to get one on the books.
I don't think I've used my executive power.
You
for
haven't.
Beach House
You need
yet.
to.
Yeah.
You need to make us watch an anime.
Batman the animated series.
You know, we could, but we'd have to watch 12 episodes of it.
You made me watch 25 of this.
Yeah, you know what? 25, fine.
It's still only like a third of Batman. So
I know. God. But we watched Log Horizon, which is a show from, I believe, 2014, based on some light novels, that is about... Stop me if you've heard this one before. A boy wakes up one day and discovers that he is trapped inside an MMO.
yes,
There you go. It's one of those. It's the Isekai shows. It was always recommended to me as the good one of them.
yeah. Everyone, whenever you talk about isekai, because people talk about isekai as a scourge on modern anime, everyone's like, "But Log Horizon, that's the good one."
Yep. So I watched it, and I had a mostly very good time with it. I was like, yeah, me need to watch this. It does some things that is kind of in our wheelhouse. I want to see how you feel about it. And that's why we're here.
Yeah. You want to tell people what the actual plot of this thing is?
Well, first of all, I was going to say it was directed by Shinji Ishihara and written by Toshizo Nemoto. I assume the light novels are written by someone else. Yes, Mamari Tono. Those are the credits. Got to get them out of the way when you're doing professional podcasts.
Yeah.
But yes, the plot is that everyone wakes up one day and they're in the new MMO, but it's not a Sword Art Online thing where they are like trapped inside a VR MMO. They're literally embodied inside an MMO and they don't know why and they can't get home. And the series progresses from there. And
The specific point here is this is not a new MMO. This is a long-running MMO Elder Tale that most of our main characters have been playing for years and fell off of and came back for the new expansion.
Yes, a new expansion was released. Everyone's playing it, and they all woke up in the world. And it's existed for like a decade, and it is based on the Half Gaia project, which means it has the entire world at a 2:1 scale.
Yes. But yeah, specifically, it's like the people, like everyone who came back for, like, it's just like the 30,000 people who came back for this expansion because it, like, on the first day when the servers updated, because this is not like a huge popular game where hundreds of thousands of people got stuck in it or something.
Yeah, so everyone is transported to this world somehow, and they have to essentially start inventing society. They are in a new world, and they have to decide how they want to live, and that's the the thrust of the plot for the first like 12 episodes, and then once that's kind of a bit established, then they start throwing complications into the mix, and new situations to deal with. And that's really the plot. There's no overarching quest or goal. It's not like, because Sword Art Online has a thing where I'm like, oh, you got to get a floor of 100, and that's then the secret of the game will be unlocked or whatever. Okay, it's bad anime, but it doesn't have that kind of immediate target. It's just kind of a group of people trapped and figuring out what to do.
Yeah. So, like, part of that is because most of the main characters are at the level cap before this expansion. Like, they're all, like, god-tier players, so the actual game mechanics are uninteresting to them because they've already played all of it.
Yeah. It's pretty good. So I guess I'll start with saying that, well, first of all, if you've not watched the show, then we're not going to do, like, a full, in-depth summary. We'll do our best to kind of summarize it. So the main character is someone called Shiro.
Villain.
Shiro the villain, who is the prototypical smart guy anime teen who is good at the strategy. Classic, one of those. He does the thing with his glasses, as they all do. And he is like a legendary player who was part of the Tea Party back in the day. Nothing to do with the Tea Party.
The debauchery Tea Party,
The debauchery Tea Party.
Yes.
Who were just
just super players in a group. Not even a guild. They were just in a group
not a guild.
that played together.
Important, they were not a guild. They were just like an informal group that were too cool back in the day. And he's here, and he has to decide what to do in the new world, and eventually decides, because first of all he's being like a cool loner anime guy and walks around with a couple of people who he's like his friend, who is the what's his friend name, the one that
Naotsuku.
It's been like 2 months since I watched this. So you hang on with him and Asachi. I can't actually pronounce her name directly. What is her natural name? Akutsu. Now I'm just doing it.
Akatsuki.
Fuck.
Akatsuki.
Who rules? She's great. She's an assassin who's decided to just follow him for reasons of loyalty, and obviously she has a crush on him also, but that doesn't really come into it in this season that much. And so they kind of go around and do them stuff, but he's feeling the pull of the world around him, and he has to decide, where am I going to settle? What am I going to like form a guild? Am I going to do this? He starts working for another guild and kind of does their like gives assistance to them, goes and saves a girl from another village that has not been as lucky as Akihabara and how it's like developed. It's kind of a rough and tumble town. Everyone's just stealing from everyone all the time. And he decides that he has to make sure that no one is going to be shitty to each other by inventing the government. And then that's the main focus of the first arc, is that he gets his guild together. He like discovers how to cook in this world, and they use that, like the information being exclusive to them, to get enough money to buy the like registry building. Which means he can decide who's like allowed to access it, and through the power of that force, create something called the Round Table, which is just all of the biggest guilds have their representatives, and they all decide on the policies of how everyone lives, and they decide to invent. They are in a new world. They have to invent how to live, and they all decide to invent representative democracy.
Yeah, but one that's rigged from the start.
So representative democracy.
Yes. But not even like naive representative democracy. He literally buys the land and says, you join this Senate or I'm basically cutting off your ability to do banking.
Yep. And so once that's established, they then have to start engaging with the people of the land, who are the NPCs. Luckily, this doesn't play that as a twist. They are all sentient, and there's this pre-existing culture that has been there the entire time the MMO's been running, and they have to start like engaging with them. They have to go on like a what's the word? Like an envoy to a city, do a diplomatic meeting, because they need some assistance, but they don't want to like admit their weaknesses and blah blah blah. And that's all very interesting. Now that kind of gets interrupted by a goblin invasion. They're not sentient. Don't worry about it. Which is kind of where the series starts losing its way a little bit. and I'm trying to. It's hard to summarize some of these because there's just a lot of like random plots at this point. There's a thing with the kids there's a younger generation of kids who are all coming up. One of them is like basically evolving into a new Shiro, but hopefully can actually talk to humans. One of them is Rundle House, who is a person of the land. He dies, and then Shiro is like, I have to save him. And because he's a scribe, he like uses his powers of his like class and realizes that because it's no longer a game, he can use them in new ways. He can like make new documents. Basically invents a magical contract that can transform Rundle House from being an NPC who cannot regenerate because he's an NPC to being an adventurer, who are the players who obviously revive at the cathedral. Raising a lot of questions for what that means for every other person of the land who is now mortal by Shiro's own choice. But that doesn't really get explored for the rest of the season. Then the last thing that happens is they try to throw a party, and another town tries to invade by just being shitbags at the festival. And Shiro realizes that although he may have like invented a society, he can't like fight against bad faith attacks. Like he can do army stuff, but he can't fight against people being shitty in your Discord, basically.
Yes.
So I appreciated this stuff, and then it ends with him coming face to face with the leader of another town who has decided to like, I'm just the monopoly in charge of everything, and everyone does what I say. And I want to team up with you because you are the other power here. And he's like, no, I rule the world a different way. You will be my rival, and we will all see how this world will progress together. And he decides that he has to do something far more drastic in the way the world works. But no one ever says what that is because that's going to be season 2.
Yeah.
So that's the broad plot. Sorry for the awkward summary, but it's kind of an awkward show in the plotting. It's very the light novelness of it shows through.
Yes.
It is not as like episodically strong as you would want, but I had a very good time with it for the most part. You were less good because I watched it going, this will probably be bad, and then was surprised at how much I like it. And you watched it with I've said this is good, and you were surprised by how many holes it had.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
Surprised may be the wrong word, but at least the introduction
deeply
was different.
skeptical of its ability to pay off anything it set up originally.
Yes. So, how do we want to do this? Do we want to talk about characters, or do we want to talk about like the themes?
I will let you decide.
We'll go through a couple of characters first. Not everyone, because there's a wide cast.
Yeah.
But we'll not Shiro, because that is talking about themes on some level.
Okay, we'll save Shiro for last then,
because that's the actual big discussion.
Yes.
But I want to talk about how I like everybody on this show.
All right, let's start off with biggest disappointment, best surprise. One person, my cat boyfriend Nyanta, who shows up in like episode 3, is a Catman, a dashing swordsman Catman chef who cooks a mean meal and is even meaner with a sword and a witty barb, and then immediately drops out of the plot after like episode 8. And
he's still there.
Only shows up to like say a couple lines and then go back to cooking. It's so I thought he was going to be a major character, like on the level of Akatsuki. That's not how this works.
So Nyanta has this thing where there's multiple characters like this, where there's these characters that matter to the plot by way of being important to the structure of the like groups, but they don't have anything to do. And Nyanta's one of those. But he is the coolest person ever because he's a cat man who rules. And he cooks.
He does cook.
He's introduced in the first arc when they go rescue Sarasa.
I was very distracted because you said he cooks like someone would say he fucks, which is true, he does, but I wasn't ready for it.
I meant that he cooks because he cooks.
Yeah, but you were like, he cooks, and I'm like, yeah, no, he sure does.
That's not what I meant, but thank you. He does. I wouldn't deny it. I would never deny that. Because I say he's with Sarasa at the start of the plot, and they go to rescue her on behalf of the guild run by these two ladies, the Crescent Moon Guild, run by the two mums of the world.
Yeah, Marielle and Henrietta, who we'll get to.
who we get to. And they go rescue Sarasa. Sarasa's just the most crying small girl that's ever been in an anime.
Yeah.
She's precious, and she loves Nyanta because he's a strong cat man, and who among us doesn't?
Yep.
And then they go and rescue her, and they have a very cool fight. One of the only actual cool fights in the series.
The only cool fight so far, so...
Some of the stuff with the kids is alright, but yes.
Yeah, but it's not like, here's a cool scene of tactics with, like, a good resolve in the same way that stuff was.
Mm-hmm. Nyanta's also very... Because you watched the dub.
Yes, I watched the dub. And
then you sent me the scene that sold you on the entire show, which was unfortunate because he never did anything this cool ever again.
Yes.
But Nyanta just being like, just completely antagonizing this dickbag.
Yes.
Who was running roughshod over this town.
Yep.
So he rules. Saras is also great. Who else is there? I guess we could do Marielle and Henrietta.
Yeah, they run the, like, good guild, and by good I mean they are mostly benevolent but also very clueless about the world.
Yes.
Crescent Moon Guild, who just wants everyone to get along and will follow Shiro's orders to make that happen, even if that's maybe the wrong thing to do.
Yep. I love those two so much. They are characters that are, like, 1 degree off from being awful. Like a lot of things in the show, actually, I think it takes tropes that are terrible in a lot of shows, right? Like, yes. These can go so bad so fast, and we've seen that a million times, and somehow manages to have them, for the most part, not do that.
Yes. Well, Henrietta's like the ditzy one, and Marielle's like the very buttoned-up business lady, except every time she sees a cute thing, which includes Akatsuki, she flips out and has to, like, hold it and pet it and love it forever. One of those types.
One of those.
But are mostly played as, like, good. Like, they're not as bad as that could be or sounds on the face of it.
Yeah, so, like, Akatsuki is, like, small,
yes.
But is, like, in her 20s.
Yes, the thing here is everyone's an adult, except for the actual kids.
Except for the actual kids, yes.
So when she's just like a small ninja girl who is going to get petted by this lady and feels like, oh, why are you doing this to me? None of it is people being gross to children, which honestly is all you need to make anime. Like, even if it's not my thing, I don't feel skeeved out by it.
Right. It's just someone liking cute things and it's all fine.
You
know, it's weird that that's a trap that anime falls into so much.
Yeah. What if everyone wasn't in high school?
It's so easily fixed.
You know?
Then there are the kids themselves.
Yeah.
What are the kids? There's Rudy, who is the Rundle House, who is the person to land. But all the names of the people I've forgotten, and I can't go look at the characters. I've only seen season 1.
There is Toya and Minori, who are twins.
Yes, okay. Minori's the one I was thinking of.
Yes, Minori is like a healer she dressed like a shrine maiden, and Toru's like a samurai, and neither of them are very good at their jobs to start off with because they're kids.
Also, they are being held captive.
Yes, they are being kidnapped by a guild that is using, basically, like, attracts all these children who are new players and, like, demands their EXP potions and uses them to power level to the expansion level cap, which is pretty good.
That is it. That is one of the things at the start. I was like, damn, this show's good. It's about interesting things and not immediately the most obvious things that this premise does. Yeah, so those two are really good. Toya is disabled in the real world, like is in a wheelchair.
Yes.
And now can run and has legs in Log Horizon. Or not in Log Horizon, in Elder Tale.
Yeah.
And that, again, is one of the things that, you roll your eyes. Luckily, they don't actually focus on that too much. That's just a thing.
I mean, he's maybe the character that gets the most. This is what they were like in the real world time so far. Like, we know, like, Shiro is like an engineering grad student or something, and like a couple things, but mostly there's just light references to who these people were, and the real world is not a going concern.
Which is one of my favorite things about the show, in that it's not about the trauma of being, like, ripped from an old place, right? It's not about people's lives before. It's very interested in what this world will look like now.
Yep.
Every time, like, there's halfway through the series, they bring up a plot point about every time people die, they lose their memories because of very technical reasons that don't matter, because they decide to give the magic like actual properties in the world.
Yes.
But whatever. And people lose a little bit of the memory. It's usually related to things at home. And because that basically means the people in the battle guilds who are actually going out there and dying more are losing much more of their sense of selves than people in the other guilds. And they don't really do anything with that because of how the show at least knows that has no weight in a show that doesn't care about the past.
Yeah.
And so that's mostly used as one of the things that maybe they'll pay off, because it's about Shiro deciding to keep that information from people for fear of it spreading chaos. And no one has yet found out that he's done that.
Yep.
Which is one of those things that, like, well, one day that'll come out and everyone will be mad at him.
Yeah.
But who knows? Those are the big main characters outside of this.
You have Isuzu and Rundle House, which
who are actually the MVPs of the show.
Yeah. They don't really matter, but Isuzu is one of the like adventurers, and she's just a bard who ends up like in this weird affectionate friendship with Rundle House, who is a person of the land who really wants to be an adventurer, and she doesn't tell anybody that he's an NPC until it is far too late for Rundle House.
Yep. Because he sacrifices himself and immediately dies.
Yep. That's because he's a overbearing mage.
Because he's ridiculous. He is the guy from My Hero Academia.
The Dick Laser.
The Dick Laser guy, yes.
Yes.
Who just comes up to everyone and is like, hello, I am the fancy lad Rundle House. I will be your warrior today. And then everyone laughs at him.
Yes.
And this leads into one of the best visual jokes in the show, which is that everyone else is like so tired of his shtick, but his like girlfriend,
Isuzu.
quote unquote, Isuzu, is just every time she looks at her, he like fades away and becomes a Labrador.
Yeah.
Which is very cute. She's like, oh, this guy's just a harmless little dog. So he'll say anything and then she'll just start petting him, and that's very good.
Mm-hmm.
So I love those two's relationship, but so on the whole, I really like the characters on the show. I like the interaction between them. It is fun to watch them hang out and do things, which is the thing that you need to like actually get me through a show, right? Like I need to enjoy being with the people in the show.
Yeah.
And then we get to the main characters. There's some other ones as well. There's some who do we want to hit on? Because there's so many. Like we're not going to talk about the guy who has the fangirls. He doesn't matter.
Yeah, but there's like Krusty and
the princess.
Yes, Linesia.
Krusty is the leader of one of the combat guilds.
Yeah.
And is absolutely not a main character for the first half of the show, but by being the leader of one of the combat guilds, it's chosen to go on this diplomatic mission with Shiro and becomes one of the central figures of the show. And his main thing is a relationship with a princess of the land, Linesia, who he basically functions as like a kind of older brother type to. It's clear there's like romantic undertones there, like she's got a crush on him and everything, but he just kind of shows up and just tells her what to do in a way that is like, I already thought of the thing you were going to say. And that's fun. I was surprised at how much I ended up liking Krusty. It wasn't like one of my favorites, but I thought I was going to find him very obnoxious.
Yeah.
But he ended up being fine.
Mm-hmm.
I like Linesia a lot because the stuff I wanted more of was the internal politics of the people of the land.
Yes.
And there was a moment in that show where that like became the focus, and I was like ready for that to be what the show was about, and then a bunch of goblins invaded.
Yeah, they sure did.
So, before we get to the like central two characters and the actual wider theme, like I guess we'll just open the door on that stuff now, right?
Yeah.
So the show is about the society emerges, and Shiro forces representative democracy to happen, and the way that all goes down, I think, is really interesting and good, especially at the stuff with the cooking, because there's like a whole 5-episode span where the thing that gives them the power is the fact that they know how to make food that tastes of anything. If you make food with your like in the menu with your food making skill that you would with how you would in the video game. It just tastes of nothing. It's a bland nothing. Everything is fake. But if you actually find the materials and have a high enough cooking skill and cook it with real fire, it works. You can actually cook food. And so they start selling this food to the rest of the adventurers, and this is a big deal because there's now food that they can eat, and it ends up being like a short story about the way that profit motive completely like pulls societies into a whirlpool. And I really like that because I was like, this was the part where I was like sold on the show, because I, unlike you, who was sold as being a good show, had no fucking idea that's what the show was about. So it was just like blowing me away, being like, oh, I guess they're talking about these things. These are all intentional things that the show is going to actually talk about with a world building, right? Like, it means something when you have the ability to make things that no one else can make. These are things that put you in an advantageous position to others and that you can exploit to like build the society you want. The way that all that stuff fell into place was really good.
Yeah, it's not bad. I was expecting it to make up more of the actual plot than it does, because I went into this show knowing that there was at some point a hamburger economy, and
yes,
it's really like one episode's worth, and then they're like, we can't actually make the money we need selling hamburgers.
Yeah, then he buys a thing and makes the round table, and the way he does that is, I think, pretty cool. But this comes to like the biggest disagreement we have about the show, in that I think the show's more critical of Shira than you do.
No, I think this show, and it's not necessarily this show's fault, it's just anime in general, really thinks that like the smart guy who pushes up his glasses and comes up with the cool plan is an inherently good thing. And I just don't agree, but I think the show definitely thinks that. And
so my feeling is that the show likes him, right? It's not. I'm not saying the show doesn't think he's cool, but I do think the show is about him trying to learn to be a human being. Like he doesn't talk to anyone at the start of the show and then realizes that's not a way to live. So he actually forms a real guild that can actually make real impact on the world. And these are things that he has to learn to do. Because at the start of the show, he's literally just wandering from place to place, trying to be that kind of cool guy.
It's not like he learns for by other characters critiquing that. It's like he gets the opportunity to express his like state of being, see the flaws in it, and then decide to be like a better person, but not in any way that holds him to account for all the things that he's done. Because none of that ever actually comes into critique. Like, characters literally go around calling him the villain with the glasses, but nobody grapples with the fact that they've turned their entire government over to someone they all acknowledge as a villain.
Right. And that is the thing. These are the these are the checks that it has to and might not cash in season 2.
Also, like 4 different women are in love with him, and it's just the same anime protagonist problem where they are writing for an audience that's going to identify with this fucking shitlord here, and so they have to make him the best and smartest and coolest that all the girls like, and I'm just not here for it.
I understand that. My takeaway on it was that because when I was like pitching it on Twitter and stuff, the thing I would say is it isn't like not one of these shows. It is absolutely 100% one of these shows. Mm-hmm. It's just also cares about its world and its characters and has some empathy for them.
Halfway. They half-ass that too.
I mean, look, it's up against a very popular show about like slavery and rape. So
yeah, no, I know.
But this is the genre.
It spends 2 episodes going, oh right, all the NPCs are real people with like lives and ambitions now. We can't just treat them like they're parts of a computer program. And then 2 episodes later, the narrative at the beginning of the episode is like goblins. They're soulless beings that breed in the dark and rise up and try to invade our lands. And it never questions that. And in fact, there's a character that shows up to give you metaphysical understanding that that's what those characters have to be. There's no way they can actually be real people because the mechanics of the world make it that they are soulless beings different than the people of the land.
Yeah, so it has a bit of the Harry Potter problem.
It has a lot of the Harry Potter problem.
In a very similar way, in that it, like Harry Potter, is trying, like, a lot of its comedy and its world building comes from the fact that it is a, like, absurd thing made real, right? It likes to pull a lot on what if an MMO systems were rigid and built into the world. And a lot of the plots are, like, the food plot is that, and the way all the battles goes about that, and that's a lot of how the world progresses. But then when you get to oh, that means EXP is real, and that means that monsters and because the goblins plot is an extended joke about, because they came to the MMO world and started living in society, they forgot that seasonal events still happen.
Yeah, they stopped doing quests to the village because the villagers were people now, so they weren't just handing out quests also. So they stopped taking quests to like clean up mobs.
Right. So that means that they forgot about every 6 months there's the goblin invasion. You go to the MMO and you play the goblin invasion, and everyone, you destroy the goblin king and everyone gets a reward. They forgot that, and so goblins are now overrunning the land, and that's the joke of that plot, which I think is fine as a joke, right? But as you say, it directly spits in the face of, wait, all these things have souls. You can't just go into, this is all a clockwork machine, and these goblins aren't real, only the humans are.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the biggest problem with the show, especially with how interesting that plot is until the goblins suddenly invade.
Yeah, because the show is predicated, in terms of like the interest I have in it, on we are going to take this idea of being in a world and building up its mechanics seriously, and then when you drop that ball, like when you do that, you're not allowed to drop that ball without me disengaging,
getting very,
from
very
your
mad.
show. Because if you are going to care less than I do, then what am I even wasting my time on?
Mm-hmm. I think they do still care, but it is definitely like I'm not going to defend that, right? It's a frustrating direction for it to take,
yes.
especially
since when that introduction to the goblins basically just reads as like a fucking racist diatribe,
right? And it's in the middle of the show being on top of its game, as they basically invent this like libertarian state where like, the difference between the adventurers and the people of the land, the adventurers are free to choose what they want, and then they come into the people of the land who have much more rigid class structures and have to acknowledge that they can only say that because they're all cool people who just learned at an MMO and can do everything themselves, right? Like their libertarian society exists and can function because they have everything they need, but like they're almost like play acting at having a society, right?
Yeah.
And it's like asking those questions and like starting to get real about them, and then a bunch of goblins invade and they all deal with that, and then that never comes up again.
Yeah.
So that was like my biggest frustration with the show. I still enjoy it because I like the characters a lot, and I think that the rest of it's not like the themes aren't interesting. I still think it's a decent one of these, but it definitely steps back from the edge of being really good.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, all it really did was make me really want to read Dr. Stone. Like, that's what actually happened here. I was like, oh, I should really read that. People say it's good, so
they do.
Which is kind of about this in the same way. If you don't know, Dr. Stone is like a currently running Shonen Jump thing that started running in 2017 about like all of humanity mysteriously gets petrified, and then they start to unpetrify, but like irregular, like not all at once, and. One of the main guys is like a science whiz who decides in this new world to like try to reinvent society through using his science knowledge to rebuild all the technology. And starts basically like in like early, like, let's try to rapid development man, but then it breaks into like might makes right societies versus this like science utopia. Which sounds kind of like what I want here. The problem with this, with Log Horizon specifically, is the only real thing they do here is like remember how capitalism works and then recreate a government I don't believe in.
Right. I like. Well, I was talking to you about this. Like, I'm defending that. I do think it's a frustration, but I do think that I still enjoy the show's themes being about how we have to create societies. We have to like believe in the structures that we like build ourselves.
Yeah, but I don't think they actually believe in those structures because all they do is turn everything over to Shiro.
And that's what I like. I think the show does know that, right? Because the show is all about how Shiro has all this power but doesn't talk to anyone.
But also none of that. Nobody like thinks to themselves, "Oh wow, we just really gave it all to this guy that we think kind of sucks sometimes."
And I think
like because everyone idolizes him. All of the like negativity is just him moping in a corner while everyone else lives their lives.
Like so, the ending of the show, the way this starts to tip its hand, but literally only in the last 10 minutes of this season does it actually tip its hand with it doing anything with this. Next season, we'll see. The way it's going is that there is another society, which is what I wanted. Because everyone's been here for a while now. I don't just want this to be the only town with a structure and a government, and that would have happened everywhere.
Yeah.
And so the one they introduced another town who's like invading, but only as like a test of Shiro's power. And can he deal with everyone being a shitbag at his like festival?
Yes.
And there's this other leader who is like explicitly just a dictator, right?
Yes.
In a way that was like, oh, good. Here's like what Shiro actually is, but honest about it. They don't really get into that much. She just kind of flirts with him, obviously. And then he's like, "You will be my rival." And he does at least recognize that. Oh, this character has shown me that I'm doing things wrong. I need to do things on a much more drastic scale. Which we'll see where that goes. I'm hoping it goes.
That's not him realizing, oh, she's like a monopolist who rules her like a city like a tyrant. I am also like, because she's like, I'm going to recruit you because you're just like me. And he's like, oh, clearly I am not doing enough. Not, oh, I'm clearly on a path to doing a wrong thing. Like, I feel like he learns the wrong lesson out of this.
Yeah, but I feel like it's fine to have... Well, okay, so not to bring the other show up, right? But this is the fucking Code Geass scene where they're like, you did a genocide, you have to make that worth something.
Except that I don't think that's really what it... Because he literally goes, I'll be more used to you as your rival than like someone who's under your thumb, so we're going to compete to rule the world.
I mean, the part where I read the end of the show as being about him embracing the fact that he is just doing these things and is now going to dedicate them to some actual radical aim rather than just recreating the same structures of society. I assume he is going to do something...
I mean, she implies that the thing that he's like the what he's clearly building towards is getting enough knowledge to make the what's the big spell? World fraction spell.
But the world fraction is undefined.
Keep people out of the world, right?
I mean, the world fraction is undefined. The world fraction are basically the Infinity Stones. They are just the thing that allows you to change the world.
Sure, but what he's like, he doesn't say, oh, I've been doing the wrong thing. He says, oh, my ambition's been too small. I need to just increase my sphere of influence to where I have world fraction.
I mean, you're right, but I don't necessarily disagree with that as an approach to a story. That's kind of what Shah does.
But in a show that's already uncritical of like what it means to be a person in power, him just going, I clearly need all the power, and his friend shut him and go, yeah, we're gonna go and get the power for you, just underscores all the things that I think this show does bad to begin with.
Mm-hmm, that's fair.
Because no one sat him down and been like, you shouldn't be in charge of anyone. You're not even a functional person right now. And say what you will about Char's counterattack, half of Char's counterattack is about how Char is not a functional person.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's why I like this stuff, because it's dealing with that things, but it is not as good as Char's counterattack. What do you want from me? Not as good as Char's counterattack might let me down in all the same ways when I get there. So, like, I don't, like... The reason I'm like, right now is I don't have good, like, stringent responses to this. I just like the characters and I want to see them win.
Yeah, I mean, me immediately, like, really loving a character that turned out to be a, like, third-tier character importance at best was a real bummer. But also, like, yeah, I was expecting something more ambitious out of this. Like, I probably just don't like isekai. I'm almost certain I don't like shows adapted from light novels because I feel like they all have this problem where they just kind of meander through, like, here's a new set of challenges for everyone to, like, tackle this time.
The way that the arc in the middle just doesn't end because it just kind of moseys into the next arc.
Yes. I'm like, oh, right, sucks. You had to put out another chapter. I get it, but, like, geez, I don't really like storytelling like this.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't believe it's going to resolve in anything other than like a slightly smarter version of the same juvenile power fantasies.
That's fair. I think that whatever's going to happen, like whatever the rest of Shiro's quest is going to be fun. I want to see what the answer the show gives is.
I mean, I guess that's part of it. Outside of the stuff with, like, the kids, I don't think this is a very fun show outside of, like, the first arc. I think it does a lot of meandering. Part of this is it has no budget to animate anything cool. Yes. So it's a lot of characters standing around talking like it's Star Trek, but the things they're saying are just anime tropes most of the time. So I'm not really invested in a lot of it.
think that's a little unfair. Like, we have critiques of how it's like structuring its world, but I think that it is in the things that it's saying have investment.
The last arc almost builds to a winter in Fantasyland fashion show, and then because they're not going to animate new character models for everyone, instead a creepy clown man shows up and like leches at one of the pure girls in the show, and I'm like, man, I really fucking hate anime sometimes.
I mean, yeah, that part's bad. But the part where the act, like, it says there's an invasion, and you're like, oh no, there's an invasion, and it's just, how do I deal with a bunch of bad faith actors doing, like, low-level disruption? That's interesting to me. Like, I think that's an interesting plot when your show is about someone who's decided to run a city.
Yeah, but it doesn't, like, Shiro never grapples with that. All he does is throw his little map over and throw a tantrum and then go and save the day with the, like, evil clown guy.
I mean, he realizes that he can't just fix everything with his tactics and has to ask other people for help. Like, that's literally
but then he goes and saves the other problem by just sweeping in and like doing his Shiro thing. Because he's like, oh, I secretly have all the things that you said you sent us but didn't, because I'm a master forger, because I'm a level 90 scribe.
Yeah, the scribe thing gets him out of so much.
Yeah.
I understand all your complaints. I'm kinder to it than you.
Yep.
But I'm also a little bit more accepting of the whole trope, right? Like, I am fine with the shitbag who wants to change the world. I want to see I'm more interested in what, like, the conclusion being, what does Shiro's vision look like on a wider scale than why doesn't he just walk away from all of this? We watched Code Geass. We didn't really podcast about that, but we watched Code Geass, and last year I watched Death Note, and like every anime is about this, and like this anime in particular has the Crescent Moon Guild like quietly doing like changing the world the right way, which is like through collaboration and understanding and empathy, and the show doesn't care about that because those aren't the smart boys that are watching the show, right? I mean, and it does the
I'm just tired of like short-sighted masculine entertainment in anime, I guess. Like, even if it's smart, it's still that. It's never not going to be that. They're never going to find the actual answer, which is empathy and like community building, because Shiro's always going to show up and do the smart guy thing.
You're right. I have a soft spot for this. Like, I'm not defending it, but I think that there is a way to read the show, or at least depending on how season 2 goes. In the world where they actually nail these things that they're setting up, it'll be a show to me that'll be about realizing that if you are going to like make an impact on the world, you have to kind of abandon the idea of, you know, creating the same structures and move on to more radical ideas of how to affect change. And I think that's a valuable thing to have in a show. I think that is a valuable theme, which is like how the season is. Like, we can't just keep doing this. We have to actually change the world we're in if we want anything to be better. And I think that's a decent, like, that's a fine shonen plot to have. I'm not anti that.
Yeah.
But
I think if you sell your show on, we're actually going to think about the things other shows do not, you're opening the door to being held accountable for that. And if the answer is we're still going to do the same plot, but we're going to mope about it a lot more, then I'm just not interested.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, you're right. This is like the similar discussion about all these other shows, right? Like, I am way kinder towards Code Geass than any human should reasonably be. Partially because I watched it as a child, but partially because I'm just too kind to it. I do have, I do think that, like, a lot of the same thing I'm saying here apply there as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, like, I always go back to Death Note understood that this character is a fucking pathetic pissant that deserves to be shot dead. Like,
yeah, and it's the best thing that's ever happened.
Yeah.
I can take multitudes. I think that the moment that Matsuda shoots light is the greatest thing that's ever happened in the history of the Earth, and also I like the other boys.
I just want all those other boys to be shot dead also. The world would be better without boys like this in it.
I mean, we'll see. There's no way Shiro gets shot in the face. There's no fucking way.
No.
He's gonna get with Akatsuki. They're gonna have a dance, and it'll be cute and nice. Yeah, that's how the show's going to end.
Yeah,
we'll see. It's a bummer. I was like very up in the show, and then you like, because I was watching it in the same way that I watched like Assassination Classroom or that basketball show, and that these are shows that I like, and they have decent themes, but they're not like Gundam, right? They're not like.
Unfortunately,
rigorous.
I have eternal Gundam brain now, so I just do this to everything.
Yeah, and I'm fine with one of these being just a little interesting. But I'm not here to say you're wrong.
Yeah, when your second arc is we're going to build a government, I feel like you open yourself up to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we need to go back to My Hero Academia.
Yep. I'm not building a government there. Explicitly.
No, the government's already there and it sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the podcast. It's a bit rambly, but that's the kind of I knew it was going to be. It's a bit of an unstructured show. The show's a bit of a mess as well. Our feelings came across.
Yeah.
I hope that you enjoyed the show.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I can tell, every other one of these is terrible. Like, I know enough about Sword Art Online and a little bit about that Shield Hero show to know that you don't want to fucking watch that garbage. So I promise for all of my misgivings, this is better than that. Maybe this whole genre is just bad.
Yeah, that's the other thing. People really aren't lying when they say this is one of the good. Imagine any of those shows even caring about these things. It's night and day. And I get this is, you're coming to this from having just watched Gundam and Macross.
Yeah.
Like, just night and day, different world.
Yep.
Which I understand. It's sad. I was hoping you could join me in the trash, but no, alas. I might go on to season 2. I'll let you know if it does anything interesting, and then
if there's another one of these, it'll be because Jackson watched season 2 and asked me to do so. Because if I don't get we have things that we can talk about here, I'm not going to carry on. Like, I like this show well enough, but I have enough shows I actually really like that I'm watching. The problem is all I watch is like a top tier all time banger anime right now because I'm trying to fill in 40 years of not watching anime.
Yeah, the thing that I'm actually going to come back and say to you, which is the curse thing, is I go, it doesn't do anything interesting, but Nyanta's in every episode.
Then I would probably watch it just slowly.
Yeah, no. Then you'd be back. Does Nyanta do cool things?
Yeah. Does he come back? Is he cool? Because that's all I really want.
That's all you need, yeah. That's it. Thank you very much for listening. If you have a show you want us to watch, then just let us know. Join us at the Patreon tier. We'll be back in a couple months, a couple weeks.
We will be back in a couple weeks to talk about the first half of Nichijou,
I'm very excited.
I've watched 4 episodes of. That show seems great. No idea how we're going to ever talk about it, but we'll do our best.
Yep.
It's not our problem if we can't talk about it. We were asked to talk about it.
Look, it's going to be great. We'll just talk about it. At some point, it'll just be us reciting the good jokes, like our Dirty Pair one. Not much to say. Fucking fantastic show.
Yeah. Yeah, Nichijou is really good. Unsurprisingly, the show all of my friends swore up and down is a very good comedy. Turns out it's a very good comedy. So,
yep. Oh, do you like the ending theme? Did you ever come around to the ending theme? We're about to play.
I did.
Okay, good.
I wish it had better animation, but
well.
It's good. Yeah, I mean, this is the Log Horizon problem, is that it would probably be a better show if it didn't look bad all the time. Like, for a little bit, I was going between Escaflowne and Log Horizon, which is just the cruelest thing you could do to a show like Log Horizon.
You know what I'm going to do on this podcast,
yes.
Even though we don't normally do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you the Season 2 OP.
Okay, it's just database again, right?
Tell me when you hit and play. Because the animation is different. That's why I'm sending you this.
I'm going to hit play now.
They switched studios.
Oh, One Punch Man.
It doesn't look better, but it looks like a completely different show.
Yeah, I don't think I like this look as much, honestly. Because I feel like it's more ambitious, but it clearly has about the same budget.
Yeah, it's the same director and everything, but it is a new studio, and the look is very different.
Like, the design just got a slightly too... I feel like they're trying to go for something a little too detailed for the amount of money they have.
Yep.
Like, it doesn't look like they changed, like, entire models, but just everyone's costumes got a 10% in complexity increase.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so, this part where the entire guild's now wearing the Shin Megami Tensei 4 outfits.
I was going to say the Full Metal Alchemist uniforms.
Yes, that too.
So here's the thing. You just said everything, and I was like, yeah, maybe the show isn't bad. Then I watched this, and the fucking database is playing. Best show ever made.
It did show an actual like skyscraper in a way that I'm like, right. Are we just gonna get some more real world stuff in this season? Is it gonna be
database, living in a database? Whoa!
The song's fine. My objection is not the song. It's never been the song. I like the song quite a bit.
We're definitely going to get some more real world stuff next time. There's unquestionably more real world stuff. Because at some point they're going to have to reveal that girl who's in the opening and they occasionally flash to is clearly an important member of the Debauchery Tea Party, but was not in this season. That we'll have to do... Who is clearly like Shiro's old girlfriend.
Yeah. I hate it.
We'll see. Goodbye, everyone.
Yeah, goodbye. We should probably let people know about our stuff. This is a free episode.
Right, this is a free episode. We're Normal Mapping. We have a bunch of podcasts at abnormalmapping.com. We have a game club, Abnormal Mapping. That's what it's called. That's what it was named after. It is every month. We play a video game. It's cool. We have Great Gundam Project, which is on this Patreon feed. Every month, every week, we watch 2 episodes of Gundam, and currently 2 episodes of Macross. They're pretty long podcasts.
Yeah,
that is our actual job, is the Gundam podcast. So if you pay $1 a month, you can join us. Yeah,
we also have a movie podcast that first episode should be out by the time this goes up. You can listen to that. The first episode is about Citizen Kane. You can find that at repertoryscreenings.com. Repertory Screenings is the name of the show. That should be out every 2 weeks. We're just getting started with that. We've had a long dormant movie podcast that is coming back, so please look forward to that.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, and then we have on the Patreon, if you pledge at certain tiers, you get a bonus podcast, you get writing. I recently wrote about Madoka, which I revisited. Today I'm going to watch the first Madoka movie, probably, so looking forward
I think I'm going to watch Madoka.
You should do that.
Because I want to talk about it to you, like, I want to talk about it with you in the next, while it's fresh.
Yeah.
Because I originally was like, oh, I'll watch Sailor Moon first, but then I kind of fell off of that, even though I was having
200 episodes, Jackson.
Exactly. But given that you've watched and you have said it's not actually a giant subversive thing you need to have understood the Magical Girls to watch.
You just need to understand that Madoka isn't as subversive as everyone wanted to make it out to be, because no one finished Sailor Moon.
I will watch it and have a good time and let you know how I feel.
Yeah.
So that's it. Thank you very much for listening. See you next time.
「すごくドキドキした」